with our Sactown Sports Kings insider. So what do you think is more likely? Malik taking a smaller paycheck to stay, and I guess it depends on how small, right? What's more likely? Malik taking a smaller paycheck to stay in Sacramento, but I feel like what are those commercials, Chris? It's my money and I want it now, yes, right? Taking the lump sum, or this new path that we've kind of crafted out, opting to take 2 years and then opting out again and saying, still taking so what would the 2-year paycheck be?
It would be 17, 18, and then 30 and 30, 33. So there's no way he's not going to, yeah, like if it's an option of either 100 mil or 77, he's not going to take the 70, the initial deal that we all thought he was going to take.
Right, because there's no reason
there's no way, yeah. If the Kings can offer him more, he's going to ask for that. He's going to say, no, I'm not signing here until you offer me the 100 mil.
Because if Malik Monk wanted to stay, why would you take essentially the same paycheck for 4 years when you can take the same paycheck for 2 years with the opportunity to take more? So basically it all comes back to the same idea. I'm either going to take this and do a version of betting on myself, or I'm going to just take the bag elsewhere. So essentially we can cook this for 77 million.
I don't know. I mean, I think that could you do a 478 where the third year is a player option, and then give them a little bit of flexibility there where you could still get this 4 years, or on the third, you could decide that, you want to re-up and do this differently, or the two, again, it's the betting on himself. I still think the 478 is in play here. I think that number could end up being, I don't know, I guess the reporting coming out is teams seem to do really like him. I'm just curious what these other teams with the cap space are going to prefer. If Klay Thompson goes to Orlando, does this whole situation become different all of a sudden? If Toronto decides to keep some of their guys, they bring back Gary Trent Jr., does this look different? So I think it could change quick. And I think the 478 is still in play. I think the 2 plus, and then, the next deal as well. It's just, you're making a promise and he's betting on himself. And it's just, I don't know, that promise, at least to me, seems so we want to do this, and, sure, if people want to throw around the word promise, it doesn't feel like I would have a hard time trusting that's a real promise,
Do y'all think that we're discounting the Raptors, the Pistons, those bad teams that do have enough money, but we just don't, I think we're overlooking them because they're bad, and we just don't think Malik's going to sign up for a bad situation. Is there maybe a chance that we're kind of overlooking it? That maybe he will say, well, this gives me a starting spot and it gives me the money. Yeah. I've been in losing situations before.
It depends on how much he cares about location. And it feels like we've learned that he doesn't need a big market. And so I'd be more worried if one of those places, and that's why Orlando is the scariest, why we talked about it so much. But let's take Detroit, right? The question ultimately is, the sell to Malik is, we're not going to be bad because we're bringing you in. Are there pieces? How far away could Detroit sell Malik on how far or how close they are to making some noise? Because personally, I feel like you could sell Malik, especially with the Eastern Conference. I think you could sell Malik on Detroit, dare I say, before you sell him on the Jazz. With the West, am I crazy?
I mean, Detroit, I don't think Detroit is in as crappy of a spot as a lot of people seem to. I think Cade is that guy. I think Jaden Ivey's still going to be really good. I wonder where Malik would fit into that equation with both of those guys being fairly ball dominant. But you could say the same thing about Sacramento, and he's figured it out.
Or Utah.
They're not that far from being maybe I'm crazy. I don't think they're that far from having an Orlando-ish jump.
Or getting to the play
last year. Orlando, you know what I mean? I don't know. I think they're okay. I think Toronto is going to be a part of the conversation. It seems like Toronto really, really liked Malik in the Pascal Siakam conversations.
You got Malik and quickly though?
Maybe.
I think Quickly's a free agent, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's restricted.
If it's anything, it's restricted. Yeah. I don't know. I think that those teams factor in. I think that they are getting discounted a lot because Malik said in his post-game presser, like, I could get more money elsewhere and be on a losing team.
Right.
But I think a big part of the question here is Malik's 26. Is this his biggest contract or is his next one? Because if he believes it's this one, I think you just get all the guaranteed money you can right now. Mm-hmm. If he thinks it's the next one, that's where this 2+1 gets interesting. You know, do you think that your biggest bag is going to come when you're 20, like at 28, or it's back to the betting on yourself? If Malik thinks he's going to get better, you can get a lot bigger bag in 2 years. You know, I had somebody earlier this year, I've said this a couple times, I think, asked me, like, what does Zach LaVine do that Malik Monk doesn't? The answer is consistency. There is a difference, but there's moments where I'm like, God, Malik is really, really good, you know? And so if he's willing to say, like, hey, no, my next bag is really going to be my big one, then maybe that makes sense. But I feel like that's kind of the conversation of, is this the big payday or is it the next one?
Do you feel any better with the picture of Malik out on the golf course? Nate also, I don't know if you heard on yesterday, Nate revealed that he had sources that said wasn't just that one day of golfing, that Malik also went with some Kings staffers a couple days later.
That would not surprise me. Malik likes his golf. I think usually Keegan and Kevin are the go-tos with
Kevin's
if Kevin were not hurt. I don't know. I didn't really read too much into it.
Come on.
Vivek being there is probably the thing where I'm like, you know, but
there's definitely conversations you would think.
Yeah. You know, they like to say business gets handled on a golf course, I guess, but like, I don't think it'd be more conversations than what have already happened. You know, they've made it very clear in their exit interviews and everything they've done. We love Malik Monk and he loves Sacramento. That's their whole thing, is we want him and he likes it here. And so, you know, that further backs that they're just not talking out of nowhere, but it doesn't really change anything for me. I think these conversations probably already been had. I think Malik probably knows they really want me here. These are my options because Sacramento's fairly limited, as we've talked about. It's just about exploring and talking to other teams, really.
Coming up next, we talk NBA free agency, trades, and the NBA draft. Also, what does Brenden think about the former King who's been not doing so hot in the playoffs? Stiles and Watkins.
Our first